everyone. I'm back. It is still May the 2nd, 2016. It's 1:29 p.m. The other video cut off on its own, so I'm just going to pick up where I was talking there rather than redo the whole thing. So we were talking about the different things we were seeing here coming into play with Beltane and May 5th. Now, first of all, I find it, as I was saying, that interesting that Beltane originally, most often, is on May the 1st, but this year it is on May the 5th. And then we're starting to see other connections with May the 5th. May the 5th is the midpoint of Taurus, which evidently is important to them because it's mentioned here. I'm not going to at this moment, but I probably will look into that at some point and see what I can find to share out of that. There was one more thing that I was going to show you, and this connects back to what I was saying about the people being worldly and caught up in the world and the things of the flesh, because this next paragraph down here speaks to that. I'm not going to particularly enjoy reading this, but I think so that you can see that I'm not just speaking that and that this is a reoccurring type thing with them. I'm just going to read it. It says, if you don't like romance-ish writing, homestead priestesses, and horny gods, just get right out of here now because it's about to get spicy. So obviously we see a lot of fleshly desire going on with this Beltane celebration. Okay, I'm flipped over here to a website I found that actually has a ritual written out on it. It's entitled Friends of the Moon Beltane Ritual. And something I wanted to point out here is we see it says it's talking about Beltane. We've already discussed, we know that it's the cross-quarter festival of spring equinox and summer solstice. But this is what I want to point out. It represents the peak of spring and the beginning of summer. Now, we know summer to be all about the sun. And there's some other information I'm going to drive this home with. But this is about worshiping the sun god, okay? But I'll get into that a little bit later in more depth because I've got some other things to tie into it. It says earth energies are at their strongest and most active. All of life is bursting with potential fertility, and at this point in the wheel of the year, the potential becomes conception. Okay, and I want to point that out because we know that any of us that have done some homework on these things that are going on with CERN and with knowing, I mean, we've done our homework and we know that Satan is about to come in to rule through the Antichrist. And of course, we know that his minions, so to speak, whether it be demons, unclean spirits, whatever you want to call them, I'm sure there are many of each and more. But we know that this alien agenda is all about a plan to deceive the people. And it is about the conception of a new race, that Satan, that's his agenda. And I know many of us that have done our homework, we understand what that means. And that's why I wanted to point this out, because this ties into that, okay? I know in one video I pointed out about the statue outside of CERN, how the circle around it in one particular picture appeared as a portal that this deity was stepping through, which was the false god Shiva, however you pronounce it. And I do believe this is all about this about them being born through this portal, about them coming through this portal, and of course their plans thereafter as well. We also see right here, and I hadn't gotten into the crowning of the May Queen, but we see here it says, the maiden goddess has reached her fullness. She is the manifestation of growth and renewal. Flora, we talked about Flora, the goddess of spring, the May Queen. Check this out. And the May Bride. Okay, the May Bride. So this is about there being a May Bride on the dark side of things. So, could we be the May Bride on God's side of things? That's just something to throw out there, I guess. Food for thought. It says, together the May Queen and the May King are symbols of the sacred marriage. So here again we see Satan mimicking the things of God. There's a lot down through here. Let's read this right here, because this ties us back to the sun, and that is clearly where we're going, because this ties back into the ancient gods and some things the Lord has shown me there. So here we see, I'm just going to read this. Beltane is a fire festival. The word Beltane originates from the Celtic god Bel, meaning the bright one. Okay, again, Satan trying to mimic the things of God. Together, okay, excuse me. And the Gaelic word tane, meaning fire. Together they make bright fire or goodly fire. And traditionally, bonfires were lit to honor the sun. Okay, you see, it's about sun worship, and this is, spring and summer is all about the sun. The sun is out more. It's about growth that comes from what this season brings. Okay, and it is about, of course, we know this season brings more sun, and so they worship the sun. Of course, they worship the sun and the moon, but I just want to point out here, traditionally, bonfires were lit to honor the sun and encourage the support of Baal and the sun's light to nurture the emerging future harvest and protect the community. So here again, we're talking about crops. As we saw in Amos chapter 8, what verse was that I had that in? Let me see if I can get back there real quick. Amos 8, verse 5, we see mention of the new moon, and we also see mention of the crops. And we see mention of the money. So it's all about the prosperity, going to this false god and wanting blessings from him for their prosperity. See, it says Baal had to be won over through human effort. Traditionally, all fires in the community were put out, and a special fire was kindled for Beltane. So this is all about, you can see, you can go here. I'm going to try to remember to list these websites so that you can go and look into the information on them further and get a better understanding as well for yourself. But we see the connection with the sun here. Okay, the bonfire is all about, let's see, what did it say? Where did I get to? The bonfires were lit to honor the sun. So I want you to keep that in mind, and I think we're going to get into understanding that a little better in the next video. Love you. Bye-bye.